Ta-da!
Good morning. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I am super excited about our stream today. We are going to be going back over that Celtic cross that we drew at the end of last week, and also we're going to be doing a little bit of text art. I'm also going to show you, and this is going to be live right here on the stream, that we are going to show you our Thanksgiving ad. It's amazing. I put it together on Premiere. It's the first time I had used it. It was a lot of fun, and I think you're going to enjoy it. And of course, the camera goes out. So let's get that back on, get rid of that box. I'm Charles Longino. I'm your host today, and we are going to be going back over that Celtic cross. And what we do here is I'm the designer for Aspie Tees and Gifts. We're a family-owned business in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I'm going to give you a peek behind the curtain as we create some designs. Last week we went over actually concepting out a design, putting it on, creating the design. And, I had mentioned last week, I don't know if you remember, but it was the Icelandic tradition of called the book flood. And anyways, one of the things that I had mentioned while we were going through it is that I thought that I was over designing it. Well, there was a big concurrence on that, and we have decided to put it on a tote bag, but it's not going to go onto a t-shirt because it's too busy. But I think that it will look good on a tote bag, so we're going to leave it there, and we'll probably come back and redo that one with just some text art. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about here today. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Before we jump into it, I want to show you this ad that we put together. I think it came out really well. I had told you last week the story about us coming out of an appointment, me and my wife, and seeing a turkey in the parking lot. We thought it was, obviously here in the middle of town, it's unusual. It must have flown in, but anyways, it just right around the holidays, with Thanksgiving and turkeys and everything, it was a very unusual thing to see. I don't think I've ever seen a wild turkey in town ever. So anyways, it was something that I turned into an ad, and I'm going to go ahead and run it. I think you're going to like it. So let's do this. Let's get rid of this here. Move that to fade, and then here we go. So there we are. That's the ad that we had created. I'm not sure if this doesn't look like, it looks like there's something a little bit wrong with our chat. I've been trying to get our aggregated chat here, and it seems to have resized itself. So I will grab this and resize it back down. Fit on our screen, hopefully. Okay, let me type something in here into the chat and see if it's coming out. Ready and waiting for new message. Okay, hello. All right, let me just deal with this real quickly. I think I need to update the chat. go. All right. It's working now. So, Jackie, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. That is just terrific. What we're going to be talking about today is we are going to be taking a look at this design that we had done at the end of the week. I'd shown you how to make a Celtic cross, and we will go back to that. And I was just kind of playing around with it over the weekend. But let me just turn all of this off. All right, so we had done, we had pulled up the grid, and I showed you how to make the spacers and to do the design and how to connect all the points. And remember, we talked about doing the parallel pairs. And so we had done originally this one. This is just your standard Celtic cross. And then I showed you how you can put some barriers in there. You just draw some lines where you want it to be in the pattern, and you don't cross it. You treat it as if it's an outside barrier, an outside, the edge of what you're trying to draw, and you connect it the same way you do the outside, and you can get designs like this. Now, we could have drawn that barrier. Let me grab this pencil real quick. Up here. Try that one. Straight line. So we could have gone all the way up here. Cancel, hidden layer, turn it on. We could have gone all the way up there. That's still not drawing because it's on. And it's way too big. The millionth time is a charm. So we could have done this break wall right here all the way through and all the way through this way if we wanted to, and then we would have gotten, kind of it basically would have just been a weave all the way around the edges. But, I think that's kind of a neat look too. The nice thing is, with that technique that I showed you, is that you can create a grid, and you can put it in there, and you can put these little break walls in there and create all kinds of different designs and different shapes. And this is just so you understand, this is the most basic type of designing that you can do on with Celtic knots. You got the trifolds, and anyways, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but there's a lot of different things that you can get onto that are a little more sophisticated. And you know what? I'll go ahead and show you how to do one of those and do it by hand. A lot of people will get out a compass and start making the circles for that, but there's a way that you can do it by hand. A lot of these knots, have these techniques that you can use by hand where you can just, knock off the design and they look really good without having precision instruments. So anyways, let me, but before we get into that, I got to try and remember to do that before we get off. I'm just going to turn this off and then show you guys what we did here. So turn that off. What I did is I basically just copied down a lot of the stuff. We wanted to put in some shadows or shadow effects here. I was kind of wondering about something. Let me just see something real quick. I wanted to add a filter on here and see, not there. Let me get to the right layer. Let me get to the right layer here. It's this one here. And I just want to see what happens if we go in here and we put some noise on this. How this ends up looking. Can't really zoom in to see it. See, it's inverted. I want the actual it to go the other way. So I'm going to go back in filters again. And then we will invert it. That's more what I was looking. The problem that what I wanted to see, it faded it out there on the edges. What I would like it to see is just have the dots more dense, and then kind of get less dense on the way out. That way we could use stippling, and then that way we could print it more easily. So I'm going to back out of that. I'll go in here and just see in the filters, see if there is one for stippling. Interesting. But again, it's using the shading instead of spacing to do that effect. And that's not what we want. So anyways, this is a way that, as a drawing, not for printing, we can come in here, and I'm going to show you how to do this, and we're going to walk all the way through how I did all of this. But I broke it into layers so you can see it. Now this is just a background layer, so that you actually have that shading and that outline there to give it a little more contrast on the edge, on top of just a plain background. So if I knock out the two on top, that's what the background looks like. All I did was simply fill it in. And then I thought, well, what would it look like if I put something behind it and then gave it a gradient? We'll go through how to do that as well. And you can see it here. And I played around a little bit with filters, and that is the end result there. Oh, and then I put, another layer on it as well, because up at the top the gradient wasn't quite showing up very well. I'm going to do this. Alright, so I'm going to come up here, and what I'm going to do is just merge all of this down so that we have, we can go back up. That happens sometimes when you have the special effects. You're not able, you got to do it in a certain order. Now let's try it. It's not going to let me do that one. Okay, so there it is. We had, a little bit kind of pop out. I'm just going to clean that up real quickly. Oops, let me get. All right. Over the weekend, I saw on Netflix they had a new movie out by the Coen brothers, The Ballad of Buster. I think it was Scruggs. And what it is it's a series of vignettes, or short stories from the old West. Did I get everything? I think so. So how does that look? We're going to go through that. Anyways, what I was saying is I saw that the Coen brothers had a movie out on Netflix over the weekend, and I watched it. I've always liked most of the Coen brothers movies. Some of them are a little too dark and violent for my taste. But, there's a lot of them that I enjoy, a lot of their comedies, not all of them. But overall, I always found that the Coen brothers were a good bet on whether or not I was going to like it. So anyways, I watched this movie over the weekend, and the first vignette was vintage Coen brothers. The interesting dialogue that they choose, the kind of over the top characters. And so the first vignette was about, the idea was simply, about one of these singing cowboys. What if they were actually in the Old West? And so they have this guy who is dressed all in white, kind of like one of the old singing cowboys. And he sings through the entire thing as he shoots people up. And it's ultra violent, but, it's kind of tongue in cheek and it's funny. But the humor comes out of it in the next series of vignettes, and it just gets progressively darker and darker. So in a nutshell, I enjoyed the first one. I thought it was funny. I saw the humor in it, and then, the second one was mediocre at best. And then I kind of lost me from that point on. Got great reviews, and certainly if you have a stronger tolerance than I do for those kind of dark, morose type vignettes, they're always very clever. I'm talking about the Coen brothers are always very clever, but it simply got too dark for me. So anyways, I would say the first one, thumbs up. Second one, the rest of them, they were clever, they were smart, they were interesting, but just not my cup of tea. So I would check it out, definitely. Just be forewarned. If the first one is too much for you, just stop it right there. Don't go any further. So anyways, that's one of the things that I got to do over this weekend. I would love it, if you guys would let me know what you got to do over the weekend. I encourage everybody to comment to us and chat down below and let us know what's going on. We want this to be a community where we can do some drawings and kind of talk to you, show you a little bit about what we do. Hopefully you can learn a little bit about how to use some of the programs that I use. This is on the iPad. This is a program that I use called Sketch Club. I find it to be very versatile. Anyways, so if you're on and you're watching this stream, even if you watch it later and it's not live, please make sure that you comment down in the comment section so that one, we want to be able to interact with you, but two, we also do a weekly drawing. And from that drawing, you can choose either a t-shirt or a tote bag with any of the designs that we have in our shop, and we'll put it on there for you. There's no cost for shipping. We'll ship it out completely free. We just want to encourage people to visit with us while we're doing our stream. So I'm going to get back right in here. And I am going to, actually what I want to do is pull this down and make it a little bit brighter. So let's, we merged all of this down. What's we have in that last one? Oh, these are the spacers that we had used to create the design. So you can see how it fit right there on top of it. So if you weren't able to join us when I showed you how to create a Celtic knot, this kind of shows you a little bit of how we did it. We simply just took a grid, which is right here, and then on all the corners and in the middle of each square on where we wanted to draw this, we drew a circle, which is really just a spacer, so that our ribbons are uniform as we draw it around. So, the spacers don't have to be exact. You want to try and keep them about the same size. You certainly can do this by hand. But anyway, so let me turn that off, and we'll get back up here. We have this on. I'm going to go ahead and take this right here down below there, get it out of the way, and this as well, so I don't accidentally draw on those. So we have that one, and we have this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that one. Let's clear this out so that you can see what another one was done. So let's throw some blank layers in here. I don't know how many we'll need. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's go ahead and fill now. Let's go ahead and do the shading. So I will actually put that on top. The layer we're going to draw on is going to go on top of this layer that already has the knot on it. And then I am going to reduce the opacity on the cross. I always like to do this so I can see kind of where I'm drawing and things are coming out. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take this little vector tool, and we're going to come in here. We're going to make sure it's on gradient. We want it to be simplified, but not too much. The opacity should be at 100%. 5 is good. We want to make sure that we fill it with a gradient, and we auto loop it, and that we smooth it out as we do this. So we are going to just zoom in here. Why are we not zooming? First of all, I got to be up here. All right, there we go. So we're going to zoom in here, and you can just pick any section of the ribbon where it goes under another ribbon. So we'll start right here with this one, and you want to start, and again, these are tools from an app on the iStore called Sketch Club. And so I use it on my iPad. I mean, it's made for the iPad. You can use it on your iPhone as well. But it's actually a very powerful little tool. But with this tool, to do this gradient, you've got to start in the middle. And you can see where I am there. Now I can tell right away that I have red, so let's get this over to black. We can even do it to, a dark gray. But I usually like to do it as black and then come back, because it allows me to have the choice. All I have to do is go to opacity to lower it down to different variations of gray. And so that's what I do. So we'll start here in the middle, we'll come out, and we just draw right down the middle of our line there. Come over here, down. And it's important that you come back and you meet it in the middle so that, it's when it does its gradient. Now, the thing that you can do is having it like this is you can grab this little eraser tool. And this is the reason that I lowered the opacity on the cross itself, is that this way I can make sure that everything is going to be underneath the lines of the cross when we are done. So what we're going to do is anywhere that we have one ribbon going underneath another ribbon, we're going to go around and create a gradient shadow. And that will be our first step. So let's get to it. We've got one here. And I'm on eraser still, so we want to get back to this. Now, just so everybody knows, we are going to be heading, because we have family coming into town, for the holidays, we are not going to be broadcasting over the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll probably be here. We'll probably broadcast tomorrow, but I don't think we'll do it on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week. Now, please remember that if you are looking for any gifts for the holiday, to go to askbtees.com. We have terrific designs that you guys have gotten the chance to see us create there on the website. All right, here we go. Come up here, turn that simplify down. What simplify does is it gets the curves. It's supposed to get the curves out of whatever you're drawing. So if you have something with rough edges, it should smooth it out. But a lot of times it doesn't quite cooperate the way that you want it to. All right, and we're just going to keep working our way around here. And just sticking this gradient in here. So it'll take just a little bit of time to do this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to blend it on the edge so that it's a little more smooth. Then we'll fool with the opacity, and then we will have our shading done. So it'll give it that three-dimensional look. But you know, this is a great thing to be able to draw out if you want to do something like this for the holidays. You could simply just take this, draw it out, and then you would have a really cool design for Christmas that you can make cards out of, or all kinds of things, and then send it to friends or family, and they will just love it. I would love to know what you thought about the turkey ad, so if you get a chance, please leave us a comment and let us know what you thought of it. Again, it was my first venture into making a movie well, I've never made a movie, period, on the computer. I've either just filmed a movie or recorded a movie, um, or a video rather, not a movie. But I've never gone in and edited one and added music and done all that stuff before. So that was very fun. And I heard the camera click. And we're back. Alrighty. Did we get it all? No, not anywhere close. Okay. Just keep working on this. Alrighty. This is coming along. If you're just joining us, we are actually adding in some gradients to a Celtic cross so that, it gives it a little more three-dimensional look. We had gone over how to make a simple Celtic cross in our last stream. And so this one, we're just going to take a little bit of time and show you how we can make it pretty. right. Let me just look at this and see if I missed one. I see two that I missed right here. There we go. All right. Now, there's another one. Is that it? That's it. Okay. What we're going to do now is we are going to come over here to our tool menu, and we're going to go up here and grab blur. And you can do this with whatever program you like to use. If you're using Photoshop, that has a blur tool. But let's lower that nib down, back up a little bit. But you can see how, even though it's a gradient, it still has kind of a sharp edge there. We just want to take this edge and kind of just blur it out. Don't go too far down on the sides, just stick to the ends. And what it does is it kind of merges it into what we're doing. At this point also, let's just go ahead and go back down to our cross and increase the opacity and bring it up so that it's over the gradient that we just did. So we are going to go around and we are just get back on the right layer, and we are just going to blur the edges here so that it looks like it's more incorporated into the ribbon and looks more like a shadow than just a gradient that was laid on top of there. We'll just make that edge disappear. And this shouldn't take too long to do. We just want to make sure that it transitions smoothly. And again, a lot of these activities are something you can do while you're just looking to kind of relax a little bit. This is nothing very challenging or hard. See on the gradients it has a little bit of ribbon here. See that ribboning? That kind of lines that are in the gradient. We can just come in here with our blur and kind of clean that up a little bit. And if you get a little spot here like on this edge, just grab a little brush and clean that up. Back to my blur tool. Blur. Hey Elizabeth, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. Yeah, we are working on a Celtic cross right now. And we are just going over and blurring in our shading. We did little gradients to kind of give it a little three-dimensional look to it. And I'm just going in and cleaning up this, especially on the edge with the blur tool. So it looks like, it makes it look a little more realistic. And then we will go in to this layer where we put this gradient, and we will lower the opacity to a point that we like it. All right. All right. Nope. Couple more to do. Yeah, I got on the edge. There's that one. So we're getting closer. We're almost there to getting done with this. And I think might be just a couple more to do, but I think that we're pretty much done. So here's one. Here's one. Okay, is that, well, here's one. Right. And is that it? I'm sure I have missed one or two. I always do. So let me just give it a quick look. Let's see if we missed anything. Not all these I went back and blurred, the whole thing back. So I don't see any hard edges on any of them. So I think we got it. So that's what it's going to look like when you put the shading in there. It's a little much. So what we can do is go in here. Like I said, I always like to start with black, because if I want to reduce down the color of it to a gray, or just it doesn't necessarily have to be a lighter gray if we have a background color to it, which we're going to do in just a second. But what I want to do is just lower the opacity, and then that will just tone down that effect. And we still have this nice edge here, so that we'll kind of break it up, and we can get rid of that too later on if we wanted to. But right now, I want to keep it, and so we will put the opacity probably right around in here. Now, depending on what color you would like to make it, you can make it like a very light effect, so that it it looks more like it's actually kind of a flat ribbon. And I'm going to do that for this one. So what we're going to do is just come back up here, or down here, and turn that off. And these should all be blank. I added some extra layers in there. So what we want to do now is we want to come in here and pick a color that we are going to like. And we're going to use our fill tool. So we are going to, what should it be? Should it be purple? I don't know if I want it too dark or purple. Let's see. Maybe something right up in there. And we can check our threshold and everything. We want to consider all layers. And then what we're going to do is just tap each one. Okay, so we got that. Now the other thing we want to do is, if we get rid of this, you will see that we have some lines in between, and that shouldn't be, and this is something that you could just take if you wanted to do this, like that, and then add a background to it. So that all kinds of things that you could do. So, it's kind of neat to have that kind of open area where, things cross. And I'm zooming in down to, the more pixel layer, but level. So, but I want to have that. Nope. I want to have that. And again, we can come back here. If it's too much, lower the opacity. There's a lot of different things that we can do if we want to keep it up. We can come down here and we can just, multiply it or screen it, overlay, darken, lighten, burn. And since it's just black on white, it's not really going to have much of a blend mode because you're not blending anything. So what we could do is we could go back here, turn off the top layer, turn off our shadows, come down here to the layer we just colored, and then we can just go to our select tool, select the whole layer, and then go to expand, and just expand it out like, let's see what 1 pixel looks like. Okay, what we did with 1 pixel is we were able to get rid of all these little gaps. So we can come down to another layer here, turn that off, and in the same color we'll go up and grab our brush. Now this is and it's going to be on over. Now when we paint in here, it's only going to paint inside of those marching ants. It's not going to paint on the outside of it. So we can give ourselves a nice big nib and make short work out of this just by doing that. Okay, and do we have, we got normal 100% opacity. We're doing it as on, right? Trying to figure out why. So all the other layers, let's clear that layer, make sure there's nothing on there. Still is doing it. Let's do this. Let's grab a pen tool. Or even better yet, we'll just grab our vector tool. And we want to make sure that we get rid of that. I think probably what is happening here is we're having a memory problem. So let me do this. Let me just clear that layer out. Let's get out of here, save changes. Alright, there we are. So yeah, I think that's precisely what was happening. So we are going to come, well, we'll just go to clear, 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 clear. Alright, go back up to here, our select tool, and we are going to do the whole layer. We're going to expand it by 1 pixel. Alright, and then we're going to grab another layer, turn that off, go back up here, grab our brush, and it is still doing it. It should be filling in. I'm not sure why it's not, but it should be solid everywhere inside of the marching ants. And it's not. It's just simply duplicating the above layer. I'm sure that I have something set, like in one of the blend modes or something somewhere. Well, another way that we can do it, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. We'll simply clear that out, move this layer below the solid layer here, and then we will do copy down. And that will give us unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, let's go back up here and do this. See there? Alright, we'll clear this layer out. There it is. Alright. So we'll come back to our select tool. We'll hit layer. We're going to expand it, but this time we're going to do it by 2 pixels. That should do it. Hopefully. Okay, well, I'm not sure. Is it getting smaller? Maybe, let's try 3. So we'll go expand. Select tool, expand, and we're going to do 3 this time. Hopefully this will work. It is getting smaller. I still see it though. So we will now go to 4. Expand. 4. Alright, now that's solid. Solid as a rock. Right there. Alright, now let's see. I'm curious if this is going to, let's deselect the marching ants. Go back up here. See, now we can put on our gradients, and it looks nice and good and clean, and you can put some different layers on the back. You can use the same idea of using your select tool and expanding it out and putting a border on there if you want it outside of this. But we have got this, this right here, which is black, and we can come in here and we can color over just that. The way you do it is you grab the brush tool, and then on the brush tool we want to select on. Hey Gene, how are you? Thanks for joining us, I appreciate it. So we select the on, and what that does is when we paint it, it's going to paint on the pixels on that layer and nowhere else. So you know, if we wanted to take this and we wanted to take like a darker purple, you know, we could simply just paint it right on top of that, and it's just going to create a darker purple. Now the other thing that we can do is we can come in here and we can use some of these blend modes right underneath the opacity, and so you can get all kinds of different cool effects like that. You know, that would be screen. Here's overlay, darken, lighten, dodge, burn, soft light, hard light, difference, exclusion. Exclusion and difference is probably if you have a couple of different colors coming through, those are nice to use. I wouldn't use them with something like this. Here's saturation. It just plays with the saturation, color, luminosity, and then on, which gives it a nice little, you know, break here. So if we wanted to have like darker shading and we just wanted that break right there, but we didn't want the black, you know, that might be a nice one to use. We could turn, go back down here, and then we increase the opacity a little bit, and then that'll give it its nice little edge there. So, you know, at a distance, you know, it's going to look nice and sharp and good. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do there. Now, let's go ahead and leave it like this for now. And let's come in here and we'll increase. And then anytime that you're doing shading, you can always put on multiply, and then as a blend mode, and I'll blend it down into a lot of the other colors that you have there. I know I'm fooling around with this a little too much. I tend to do that. Go back to our layer. I kind of like it right there. I just like to, you know, check the different blend modes. See how it looks really quickly. So there we go. We'll do that, and then we'll come back up here and go to our layer. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come back over here to our select tool, and then we're going to select that layer, and we are going to expand it. And this time we're going to expand it like 6. And then there is a nice outside ribbon that we can use if we don't want to come up here and use this or this. So we'll grab a new layer here. I will come over here and turn the camera back on. Put a face with a voice. And then we'll come in here on the new layer, and we are going to grab a brush, and we can come in here, and again, if we wanted to stay with purple, we could just make a uniform purple all around. And we are on. So we want to put it back to over because we had it on. And if we're on over, it will color on even blank spaces like that. Now we can just go ahead and take that selection tool and turn it off. And if we want to change that color, at any point we can come back and just put the brush tool back on and just color that layer. And we can change it as many times as we would like. So we will deselect that, and you can see here, you know, now we're getting kind of an interesting look. And I don't know how I feel about those two lines coming out on the sides like that. I'm going to go back in here. I think it's on this one. That's normal. It's normal. It's there. That looks kind of neat there. So, and you can see I'm just playing with the blend tools. I kind of like the multiply. I think I'll go in here and actually take that opacity down a little bit more. Not too much. Then up here and take it down a little bit. If I think it's a little too much. So anyways, you get the idea, and then you can paint the background, all kinds of things that you can do. And so that is a simple way that you can create a Celtic cross. You can do it by hand on a piece of paper. You know, this app that I'm using on the iPad. You know, it might have gone up in price when I bought it 5-6 years ago. It was like $2, so it's not a big expense. And you can come up here and you can export it. You can even have it printed on a t-shirt for you. It'll send it out to probably Printful or one of those services where they'll direct a garment, the design for you onto a t-shirt. So you can do a t-shirt that you can give out at the holidays or something like that. This is an easy way to do it. And then you can really create your own kind of design. So here's a Celtic cross, a beautiful purple. We could put it on a t-shirt and send it out and say, you know, for the relatives that are coming in town. So if we go out and do any kind of activities, we could say, you know, Longino family, Merry Christmas, or something like that on there. You know, we could add a few things to it, some sprigs, maybe, you know, some holly or something like that. There's all kinds of things. We could intertwine vines around it and put some leaves on it, which I think would look cool, really neat. And so, but anyway, so this is it. And you can see you can keep going back and taking the layer and expanding it out and doing more copies on copies on copies, you know, until you get what you like. But I am going to come up here. Let's see, that's that. Let's see, copy down. And then here we will just merge down what we have. And again, you know, depending on your opacity settings and what you're doing, you might have to do, you know, merge here, and then do this layer, and then do that layer on top. So sometimes it's funny about how you merge the layers together based on what kind of blend modes you have set and the opacities. So you got to figure it out. Usually I do the backgrounds first, merge all of those, make sure they look good, and then do the top layers and the highlights. So here's our Celtic cross. This is just a standard one. Here is the other one that I did that is here. So let me get rid of that. Clear. So we've got two. We can take this one and just transform it, move it over here so we can see them both on the same page. Let's put it over here. Done. Then I'll go in here and grab this one, transform it, move it over here. That way we can see both of them. So, here's two different, styles, of the same thing. It was the exact, well, this one here, this one to the right of the screen is just your standard Celtic cross. The one to the left, we put those break lines in the middle of it. So it's not intertwined in the middle. Give it kind of a different design. We colored them two differently. We did the shadowing on both of them. So this is what we have. We have two very different looking Celtic crosses, just to show you there's all things that you can do. And there it is. There's a Celtic cross. So let's save this and move on. I really don't have anything else to say about it. If you guys have any questions whatsoever about what we did, I'm happy to clarify anything. Again, I did it on a very simple program that I use on my iPad that is fantastic. I'll show you the kind of detail that you can get. Let me get back out of here. Come on. Oh, it's frozen up now. Get rid of that. Open it back up. Forgot with iOS, if you get rid of it, you got to open something else up. Here's a game that looks like the old EverQuest game that's in production right now. Looks kind of interesting. Remember playing EverQuest 20-some years ago. That might be fun to do with my 18-year-old son, so we can have a game that we can enjoy together. He wasn't even born yet when I played EverQuest. I'm getting old. Alright, so here we are again. So let's come back in here. And I'm going to make, what I was doing here is I was creating a cog. The reason being is I have in a t-shirt something that says time, and I need to lower down the actual, I don't think that one looks that great. I need to probably redo it. But what I'm doing is I'm going to create some clockworks and then incorporate it into the design, which is down here. And instead of using just a font that's already pre-done, I decided to do this all by hand. And so, I'm playing around with it. What I usually do if I do something like this is I take lines and then I just write out where I want everything to be. I haven't really done a lot with the cursive yet. I'm going to make it look more like probably like it was done with a calligraphy pen. Let me get centered. Here we are. So I'll probably do it, I tend to lean back, so this is a good spot for me. Let me get on here and respond to these people, to everybody. Take a second. That's the problem with having three screens. I can never find the mouse, the cursor. I think you have to have younger eyes because my kids can find it right away. To me, it's just, I don't know. It's part of the background. I can't seem to locate it very easily. Anyways, hello. Thanks for joining us, because I always speak out loud when I type. Look at that. We have aggregated. So Jean is now, and Elizabeth are now going to be in our drawing. And Elizabeth has already won. So she gets to enter in. She might end up getting, all of her presents for Christmas. This would be great. So, but Elizabeth and Jean are both going to be joined back into our drawing for this week. Even though it's going to be a short week, we're only going to be here, I think tomorrow. I'm not sure if we're going to do a stream Wednesday or not. Let's just say no on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we have family coming in town. And so anyways, it's it's a big time for us having the family with Thanksgiving. And it'll be a lot of fun. I hope everybody out there is going to have a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. And I'm actually going to take this opportunity to show you the turkey ad that we did, which I personally think is great. But me and Jackie, coming out of an appointment, saw a turkey here in the middle of town, which is quite unusual. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys that real quick. And see what you think. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think about this. And you will be entered into our giveaway. And there are a few things better in life than the Ask Me Teas and Gifts weekly giveaway of a t-shirt or a tote. So here we go. So anyways, that is it, and apparently I lost my connection to my iPad, but I would love to know what you think about our little ad, and we're going to be posting it probably later today on Facebook. I'm sure it will become super viral. Everything will end up with 1 billion sales for Christmas because of it, and it will be a joyous time in the Longino household. But since that's probably not actually what's going to happen, I would love to know what you think about it. But also, when we do post it and you see it, please share it out to your Facebook friends. That would be we would really appreciate that. Let's get rid of this. And so, but anyways, that's the turkey that we saw coming out of this appointment, and we took a little video of it, and we thought it would be a fun message for Thanksgiving. So, it's just, not only is it unusual to see a turkey in the middle of Greensboro, North Carolina. I mean, I have never seen a wild turkey in town, and I've only seen a wild turkey a handful of times, and usually as I'm driving through the countryside on the side of the road somewhere. So anyways, there he was, and we got some video of it, and we turned it into this wonderful ad for Thanksgiving, letting everybody know that we are wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, and we really appreciate you joining us, and we hope that you have a very safe Thanksgiving. Anyways, moving on. This is right here what I'm working on at the moment, and it says time plus distance is not greater than our friendship. But I wanted to make it look, I didn't, it's easy to go in and just get a font and use it, and, you'll sell t-shirts fine if you want to do it that way. But this is a special t-shirt for my wife because she wants to give it to her best friend. And these two have been as thick as thieves for the past 45 years. And even though her best friend lives up in New Jersey, thanks to social media and everything else, they've stayed very close over the years. And so anyway, she wanted to create this design to give to her friend. And so I'm working on this design, and we thought it would be a great t-shirt for the store as well, for people that have been able to maintain relationships over a long distance, over a long period of time. And this would be a great gift to give to them. So we're working on this. It's going to look very different from here, but usually the way that I start is, I want, when I do a design, I try to keep it, especially on the front of the t-shirt, 10 inches by 12 inches. We've talked about this before and why. So it's a little bit higher than it is wide. And so, it tends to be that if I do, this landscape, once I shrink it down to put it in, it's usually pretty good sizing for that, 10 by 12. So, and that's actually a pretty good size, large design. But, I was working on that cog because with time here, I wanted to put some cogs in here, some clockworks. So, that represented the time. I was thinking about incorporating in this kind of similar look as to what I did to the T. A looking glass I thought would be kind of neat, just below distance. And then is not greater than, we could put the not greater than mathematical sign in there and kind of incorporate that. I wouldn't want to make it too obvious. I don't want to get it, and we've talked about this before, I tend to over design absolutely everything. I have fun doing it. I get in there and I just keep going and going and going until it either gets edited down or it ends up on a tote bag because it's too busy for a shirt. So since this is going to my wife's friend, I have a feeling that this is going to be edited down. But until then, I'm just going to keep designing because I can't stop. I'm going to design and then put more design on top. So this is where we're going with this. So I thought, let's check the time. We've been at it for a little over an hour, and I think that if everybody is good, and hopefully we'll have a couple more people stop by and visit with us, and I am just going to jump in here and start working on this a little bit. What I want to do is the time plus. I made it look like this cursive, and we, a lot of cursive fonts right now tend to have a little more spacing. This is a little more scrunched up than I think I would have liked, but they tend to go below the bottom. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I don't know how to describe it, so I'm going to grab a different color there, nice red, check our opacity, blah, blah, blah. But see right here, this is our line. Smaller nib would be good, or brush. But there's our line, and it's not angled like that. It is more like that. So anyways, usually with, and still let's try and do it right. All right. But a lot of these new fonts that are popular right now, they tend to dip down below that line, the line that everything's resting on. And I know that there's a name for that, as like ligature or something like that. I'm not exactly positive. But anyways, so as the cursive comes around, typically in most more traditional cursive fonts, you wouldn't drop below that line. But just right now, you just see it over and over, these fonts where they kind of dip down below the line, and they, it kind of gives it a swoosh. Now, I still don't like, I like the T, but I had put in a whole bunch of different marks on the, on the time and the plus last night, and I over designed it, and even I knew enough to know that I was going crazy with it. But I think I need to add some more thickness and thinness to this time and plus to make it sure it looked like it's cursive. And the other thing I did is I gave it kind of an, I opened it up with a space right here where they crossed over. And I need to have freehand. So right in here. Let's go back out. Right there. So there, here, here. And I would love to know what you guys think about that. Do you think that's something I should do? Is it stylish, or should I just connect them? But anyways, I know I'm going to be spending more time on this. And for some reason, it looks like it's tilted wrong. It's probably those swoops that I did, because I know that the lines were straight, because the first thing I did was come in here and do this. I always do that. Turn my opacity down. I don't know. That looks like it got turned to me. But how? Well, we can easily go in here, grab our selection tool with this wonderful little app called Sketch Club. Grab that, hit transform, and then just kind of straighten it up. Right? That's better. So anyways, and then what I typically do first is I draw the lines based on how many words we have. And the thing to keep in mind is with t-shirts, the less words the better. And if I was designing this to go up on something like Etsy, I would be more aware of having less busyness in the words and the letters thicker, because you have to keep in mind that people are going to make their buying decisions on whether or not they're going to look at your design versus a competitor based on a thumbnail. So if they cannot clearly in a millisecond see and know what you are saying and what the design looks like, they're probably not going to click into your product information to sell that design on a t-shirt. So that's one thing that we need to keep in mind when we do that. And so here it is. This is, and then I simply write out and where I want the words to go. Now they're not going to look like this. I decided to use this kind of cursive style, but it gives me a place setting of where things are going to go. And I'm going to come in here and completely change these around. I'll probably lower the opacity, take a the pen tool, and draw on top of it to kind of get where I want, and that gives me kind of a baseline of where to start. And then we'll start moving around the different elements, getting them in place, and then what we do finally is we start cleaning things up, and then hopefully we have a design that looks good. It will probably be over designed and edited, but it's fun to do. It's a fun way to pass time. And again, if I wasn't selling these designs online, and I was just doing a cool design for a friend, I could come up here and then just create t-shirt, and then it'll come up on Snap-T, and you can put it on different t-shirts here, change the size of it, I assume. Yeah, there we go. Move it up a little bit to where we want it. Obviously I'm just have absolutely no desire to do this. Since we're a print shop, I can tell you the quality of what we produce is far superior than this. So if you like this design, you're much better off buying it from us. But regardless, we'll go ahead and take a look at these low rent reproducers out there. Not like our stuff. So anyways, and you can kind of zoom in and out. You get the idea. And you can put it on different types of kids t-shirts, a hoodie, yada yada, so on and so forth. So anyways, that's built right into the app. I'm telling you, this is probably the best sketching app, in my opinion, on the iPad. It has so many cool little features like that. It is obviously designed by somebody who uses the product, instead of somebody who's just simply a programmer trying to sell something they think will sell. Because it's all those little touches. It's kind of like used to be when you bought an Apple product and have these little touches that just made it a little bit nicer and easier to use, just kind of a step up from all of its competitors. Even now, I'll go get something Windows based, and once I spend the next 2 hours of changing settings and getting these programs and this and that to make things work right, then I'm usually racing back to an Apple product. However, Apple doesn't seem to be innovating since Steve Jobs passed away like they used to. It's a little concerning. They just keep regurgitating out the same stuff, which I like. It would just be nice to see them as a company that innovates as well, like they used to. So anyways, that's that. All right. Get a little water. Look at that thing, that chat. Every time I come back to it, it resizes like that. Where's that cursor? Keeps disappearing. There we go. There we go. How easy was that, right? But now all the messages are gone every time I do that. So it looks like nobody's talked to me and I'm a lonely person. People talk to me online. Back to drawing. Okay, so here we go. Let's twist things around twisty. Oh. Oh, you know what? Before we get into this, I was going to show you how to do, I think it's pronounced trifold, but that's another Celtic design, not. Save that. Go back over here, and I'll just grab a new layer, like always. Come up here to have anything up here. No. Alright, turn that on, get our opacity back up. Alright, now this is the way that you create I should find the word and pronounce it correctly, but I want to grab my brush, and then I'm going to draw me a triangle. Again, if you don't have a program like this where you can easily draw a perfect excuse me, triangle, you can just slowly kind of sketch one out by hand. You know what, here's another suggestion is that, I know that I can go in to the back end and go into settings on the iPad, go down to Sketch Club and change the snap to grid. But it would be awfully nice to have that here, and it might be, and I just have forgotten about it, or I'm not sure where it is, to where we can snap to grid. So if we're building our making a triangle like this, we can make sure that it, easily that it's straight. So I can just hit a button that says snap to grid, and then I know that it's going to snap, exactly the way that it should. So there's a suggestion for this app. I came up with feedback for the app. I will make sure that I email the developer and let him know my opinion. I'm sure that he will so greatly appreciate that and respect what I have to say. Probably looking and say, don't you have better things to do? What the? Actually, the developer for this program is a really nice guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up about a third of the way. Let's take a look at our nib. And I think I want to grab smooth. But, you know, you can just eyeball it about a third of the way right here. And let's create some more layers. So, so we are going to come here and let's go back here and just turn this opacity down just a tad. And then here we'll make sure that's up, everything good. No weird blend modes on. So we're going to grab this. Let's go to the top here. And we're going to do about a third. About a third. About a third. That looks to be about right. So we marked our thirds. And then what we want to do is we can grab our little sketchy thing here. Is starting right about there, we just kind of want to draw a line like that. Actually, we need to come up. Like that, that might be. Alright, so here we're going to be doing it. We're going to start here. We're going to be okay. Did I do it? No, of course not. I swear. I think I'm getting Alzheimer's. Needed to get rid of these marks. Thought I was going to do it on a different layer. Be all clever. But I didn't. Right. Back to here. I like to use this smooth tool to kind of sketch things out, like almost like if you were taking a pencil and you're kind of drawing out your construction lines. You know, you kind of sketch it out with a pencil. That's what I use that smooth tool for. A lot of people use it for more than I do. I like it for that. So let's get in here. And again, we can draw this out and come back and clean it up, or redraw it on another layer so that it looks good. So now that we have that, what we want to do is, depending on the thickness that you want it, is you're going to come out here from each corner and you're going to say okay, and just put a dot halfway from the edges, depending on how big a ribbon that you want. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Actually, that's like twice as big as I was originally going to do it, but who cares? So then I'm going to just draw this. I'm going to try and keep equal distance away from the first one that I did. Just like that. And then I'm going to come over here and eyeball it and say, oh, that looks about right. Whoops. There we go. And you can, like I said, you can make it as thin as you want. I probably went up a little too far to, and that's just a matter of personal taste, is, if you did it thicker. But you can start coming in from your sides a little bit lower if you don't want it as deep. But, we can, so let me just grab another color. Actually, let me go ahead and draw another one just to show you. And of course, I erased all of our lines. So here, I'm going to draw these lines back. And I do it on about thirds. It's too wide in the middle. Okay, I think that's about right. All right, let's grab our sketchy tool. And we can do it so that we, start here. How does that look? Terrible. Let's try it again. All right, so that we start. Gee. And probably an easy way to do something like this, I didn't even think about that before. Just grab a circle, grab a new layer, which I should be on anyways. And then we can just transform it and move it over. Make it a little bigger if we need to. What I'm trying to do to make it more narrow is do it so it goes about halfway. There we go. Now we can just copy down, doop, doop, transform, and you know your circles are going to be the same at this point. It's just a matter of getting them lined up there. Alright, so then what we do is we grab our eraser. We can take these 3 circles and just merge them down so they're on one layer. And then come in here, and anything that's outside of the line, we can just go up here, grab freehand. Let's increase our eraser size. And go ahead and come in here and get rid of it. That was a much easier way to do it. I think my point was to show you how to do it by hand. The obvious answer to that is give up and do it by computer. No, you could do it by hand this way. All right, so we have that. Now we're should be on the same layer. I erased them, so we are. So let's come in here and do this up to there. That up to there. And we want to make it smooth, so it. And we want to do it like that. Same for over there. Same for here. Oh wait, it's not gonna look. Quite so harsh. There we go. Now we're making progress. So let's get rid of these dumb marks. Clear. Alright. At this point, we can get rid of the triangle. We can come in here and easily take an eraser and just kind of clean up these edges a little bit. And I'm on a hidden layer. Let's go back up to the right layer. Goodbye. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. How exciting is this? So now we're going to do what I tried to do before, or well, what we did. Again, you know, pick your point. And we are just going to, I'm going to make it thicker than that. I don't know why I keep wanting to make it so thin. Let's see here. It's more like that. Whoops. Ah. It's frustrating. All right, there we go. And so now it's just a matter of cleaning it up. And making sure things cross over correctly. That's looking pretty amazing, I would say. Alright, so we'll have this one go over this one. Why? I don't know. Why not? And so since this is going under that one, it's got to go over this one. Whoops. Over, under. This would be under. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So here, you can come over here if you want to. Make sure we got that looking good. This one looks like it's puckered a little. So we'll grab this and do that too much. There we go. All right, grab this. Goes in there. Alright, so you can see it's just a matter of getting the curves exactly the way you want them at this point. Should have probably taken a little more care when I was drawing them. So anyhow, So that's how you do it. And, you know, the same kind of thing. Come in here, and once you're done, you want to, you know, darken up those lines a little bit. And, you know, you might want to shade it where they cross the ribbons. And thicken up the lines. So it looks good. Hello, hello.
Hey, Brock.
Broadcasting?
Yep.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Brock.
So anyhow, we'll just darken up these lines.
Okay, sweetheart.
All right, so there we go. And then, you know, you can tie this in. You know, if you want to make one of these lines, you know, thicker here, you could do that also. You make it different dimensions. Just show you what I'm talking about. Let me grab another color. Grab this. Go to a new layer. And, you know, if we wanted to, we can make one of these, you know, thicker like that. You know, it doesn't have to be uniform. Then we can tie it onto something like this, you know, or we might have something come here around the back of these two and then come out this way. You know, like something's hanging, like you actually put a ribbon in through. So there's all kinds of different things you can do. You know, you really, you know, doing this is about like doing a Zentangle. Is about like doing a Zentangle, where you can just kind of be meditative and focus in on what you're doing and be creative. Let your creativity out. Half my face is gone. You guys need a full view of all this, don't you? So, but anyways, you know, use it as a way to kind of use your creativity. You know, up here you can see we can create really neat designs. Again, if you have this app and you did one of these Celtic crosses, I'm pretty sure in full color you can send it out and get it DTG'd on a t-shirt. And someday we'll talk about the pluses and minuses of the different types of inks and processes of making a shirt. As my father-in-law always liked to say, there's pluses and minuses to everything, and that is definitely true in printing. That's why, you know, people do use the direct-to-garment and still screen print. Screen printing is still here for a reason. So anyways, you know, there's all kinds of different techniques and styles to printing shirts. Depending on the amount of effort and everything that goes into one, depends on how big a run you're probably going to do. And I got box face. I hate box face. Let me get rid of box face. I'm sorry. And so anyways, you guys get the general idea. And have a very safe Thanksgiving, and we will be back tomorrow, and then we will be off for the holiday. And I want to show you guys a couple of things real quick too. This is my new graphic for before we stream. That's my dog. He's an old dog. He can hardly see, but my youngest son outgrew his chair. He had a recliner so he could sit in his recliner next to my recliner, which was really always just a way to step up and join me on my recliner, which was great. Who doesn't like that? But the dog has taken it over for his own. So now that my son is off playing and doing his thing with his brother and sister, Spencer will join me in his little recliner right next to my recliner, and so we hang out. He's a good dog. I'm gonna miss him. He's up there. I don't, you know, hopefully he'll be with us another year or two, but I get worried. So anyways, that's the new stream intro that we're going to be doing. And let me show you once again our Thanksgiving ad that I'm going to end up posting here shortly. Thanks again for joining us. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. And I don't know what we have on the plate for tomorrow. I'll have to think of something neat. So anyways, maybe it'll just be a doodle day. So I don't have to prepare a whole lot right here before Thanksgiving. I don't know, but please join us. Ask any kind of questions that you might have. I would love to get to know everybody who's watching. So again, we do this every day, every weekday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, except for this week. We'll be out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the holidays. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.